Tom Teague in the green room. I'm going to bring him in now, and let's discuss this. Tom, how you doing, man?
Good.
So I just played a video from Donald Tusk, and he laid out 3 minutes of how all the Epstein files, all the Western elites having sex with little children, it's all Putin's fault. Did you know? It was all set up by Putin. What do you think of that?
I think they're just pushing the limits of how stupid people can be.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost, I don't know how you could possibly think that's going to fool anyone. I mean, and you know, it seems to be something that they've done in the UK, which is kind of where they started spinning it that way.
Huh.
You know, I mean, he met with Zelensky before the Maidan revolt, and there's like so much between them.
Yeah.
You know, going on. I don't know, is Putin secretly backing Zelensky and trying to take Ukraine and join NATO? I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's like gaslighting on a level that I've never, and that's what's going on with all this. It's just complete gaslighting. It's like, yeah, there's nothing to see here. There's nothing going on. I mean, the guy was a racist scumbag. I mean, clearly, Epstein, and you can't, you know, you just gotta understand it, and that's it. I mean, and you know, he was like, for me, he was far more connected in the financial community than and in the like geopolitical community than I had any idea. I thought the guy was like hanging out with, you know, rich, you know, Americans and some, you know, Eurotrash people, but he was plugged in with everybody, and this stuff with Mendelssohn's like completely just blew my mind. The guy's like leaking information to him about, you know, the bailouts and stuff, you know. It's really bad. He was really influential, but to come out and say that he had anything to do with Russia, I mean, you know, it's just like, that's just next level stupid.
Well, you know, I try to listen to a lot of stuff, and last night I was listening to his own Redacted. It was almost 3 hours with David Icke, and I don't know if you've ever listened to him. He's the guy that's, you know, all
the
reptilians and all this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and I just kind of listened, but he had a good point that it is to control people. It's all about the perception and the information flow, and you can control billions of people that way. But once you lose that, you lose that control, and
if you lose the narrative, it's over, and they have, and Europe's fighting against that right now. They're trying to, you know, so like last week, Mélenchon, who's the communist leader in France, basically came out and said that, you know, we're replacing these people. In Spain, he said the same thing. They want to replace the far right, which is just, you know, people who are basically wanting to protect their borders and have the rule of law in place and look after the natives of the country, the Spaniards, before anyone else, which is, if that's fascism, it's going to make a big comeback. But you know, like, they're trying to now censor X, and it's the whole narrative thing. They can't control it anymore. Like, all of my friends in Europe get their news now from X. I mean,
wow. That's why.
Yeah, but everything else is just the toilet. It's like, if you literally are listening to the Daily Mail at this stage, you need your head examined. I mean, how many times there's this thing called Gell-Mann amnesia, and if you ever know something about like a subject, you read the papers and you realize that they've got everything backwards, like, you know, wet sidewalks make it rain type thing. That's the example people use of Gell-Mann amnesia. And then the next day you pick up the paper knowing how bad it is, you read it, you believe it. You know, that's it's crazy. I don't understand it at all.
Well, and his point is that control vehicle, they're slipping, and it's the censorship. That's why the censorship is so critical to this whole matrix, because their entire power base just evaporates if that is not there. So
they're correct, but you have the Streisand effect too, which is basically like, the more blatantly you try to cover it up, the more people are going to believe the other side of it, which is what I find just preposterous. It's like, come out and say it and admit it, and which they are actually doing now in
Yeah.
Europe.
Yeah.
But they're desperate. They're losing power. Trump has shown there's another way of that we don't have to sit in our houses and be miserable all the time, that we can actually have a good life. We can have a strong economy, but this has been a overarching theme for a long time with the WEF. You find elements of it within the Democratic Party in this country. They want people to consume less. They want people to live in 15-minute cities. They want people to stop using gas, drive electric cars. It's just like creating this like power around and control over people so that they have to live like almost communist style, like Soviet style lives where everyone gets what they get and they're happy, and they're not.
Well, that's what that control matrix was put in place under Soviet times.
Correct.
They didn't have. It's the same people. They didn't have the technology to do it so effectively that they do now.
Correct.
It's fascinating. Anyway, I'm going to keep watching Ike and see if there's any more lizard talk. But it was actually I learned a lot from that guy actually.
Well, it's funny because these people have said things about the child sacrifice and what's really going on behind the scenes, and it seems to be part of the elite. It seems to be something that they're doing, and it continues to be confirmed, and then you got like this Pizzagate thing that they supposedly debunked, and the guys that debunked it got done for being pedophiles. So you're like, well, okay. So that there's obviously something there, and it's the world's waking up, which is, I think, very good.
That is Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
A warm welcome here at the National Press Club. Welcome to the journalists, welcome to the Embraer team, and welcome to the other guests that we have here. Going to announce, and as some of you guessed it right when they came in, the first E2 order by an American operator. And that operator is Avello. We believe this is really a strategic shift to unlock profitability for the customer. I'm very pleased that we have Andrew Levy here as the CEO of Avello, and I'm very pleased to give the stage to share a little bit more about what Avello is going to do with the E2 195. Thank you very much.
Couldn't be more excited to be here as part of this historic announcement. We have such a great cultural fit as companies, so we're very, very excited to be Embraer's newest customer. We launched our airline in April of 21, and our target is focusing on small secondary airports of large metro areas. We've carried over 8 million customers since we started on 63,000 flights. And we've done all these things with 1,200 of the greatest crew members I could ever imagine having, and many of them are here with me today. This is the right airplane for us. It's going to open up opportunities for us that no other aircraft can serve. The best thing about the airplane, of course, is you will not find a middle seat on this airplane. It doesn't exist. We won't have any to offer. It's going to be the best cabin in the United States, and we're so excited about that. This is going to elevate our experience to the highest level, and we think our customers are absolutely going to love the airplane.
So let's switch gears for a minute. Panama. The Chinese just got slammed in the Panamanian Supreme Court,
Microsoft
where
is up 0.3%.
They said that the contract the Chinese were running on the port is no longer valid, and that's a huge win for Trump. But how do you see? I bring that up in more of a geopolitical sense. How do you see the U.S.-China relationship right now? Market-wise, economically, et cetera.
Well, I think there's two sides of it. Mm-hmm. The left has allowed China to expand its empire and imperial ambitions for years, and sat quietly while it's all happened. Europe has allowed its industrial production to go down the tubes while giving it all to China. This whole idea of we're going to buy solar and wind and it all gets made in China. The whole idea that we're going to get rid of combustion engines and we're going to use battery engines that all come from China. They've just let China come in and buy their way into the governments and buy their way into the countries.
Yeah.
I think for us in the U.S., the biggest thing for me was COVID. Where the hell did that come from, and how much did they know about it? Which at this point, I'm pretty convinced that they caused it on purpose. The one thing that I'll say is that because we switched all of our supply chains to China, after the GFC and those years following, we're basically completely reliant on them. And when COVID was over, we opened up 15 months before China did.
Yeah.
Now, if you're sitting in a smoke-filled room in Beijing, if you really want to hurt the US, you cause inflation. It's an obvious thing. So if we open up 15 months before they do, our economy is going to come roaring back, and we're going to need that supply chain in order to do that. Well, that's going to cause inflation. So I'm convinced, and no one's ever going to change my mind on this, that China intentionally opened up slowly to create inflation in the US. And I think the Trump administration, to answer your question, is completely aware of this. Mm-hmm. So all this creeping that they've done into Central and South America and building ports and slowly gaining control of things and their like pernicious way of doing it, I think they're being called out, for it. I think Venezuela was like, not in our hemisphere, and I think that was a good sign to them. And I'm sure they're quite upset about it, but that's the way it is. They don't play fair. They haven't played fair. It amazes me that in a lot of these like tariff negotiations, we're talking about intellectual property that they're stealing.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, this is what we do. That's not what we do. It's not okay. And so like, if they played fair and straight and didn't try to influence us and didn't try to infiltrate our education with communist ideas and didn't try to sow the seeds of subversion in our country, it would be a different thing. I think this administration realizes that, and they want them out of our hemisphere. And I think that they were, Sleepy Biden let it all happen, probably on purpose.
Yeah,
probably on purpose. Yeah. And there's always a give and take. So they were clearly getting something for it. I don't know if that was support. I don't know if it was winning elections. I don't know if that was bribes. They were clearly getting something to betray our country. And that's what was going on. And I think, right now what you're seeing like in a big global picture is you're seeing this new like layout, this new empire layout being put in place. Yeah. And Trump's like, this is our hemisphere. These are the things we want, and we're going to control them, and you're not going to influence them.
Crude with a draw of 3.5 million.
I think that's the right thing to do, and I think China, our relations probably with China now are more strained than they ever have been. And the one thing that blew my mind was like, a week and a half or 2 weeks ago, there was like some sort of like coup attempt in China. How is no one trying to dig deeper in this? And
nobody wants to talk about it.
Right. We've
like, talked about it.
It's like they're telling our media to be quiet about it. And I'm like, what's going on?
Yeah. Right? Yeah, exactly. Well, I think as far as Chinese influence, I think the Fed is a big part of that. I see Tillis this morning is still doubling down on blocking Warsh. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you look at the control matrix that we mentioned earlier, I think the Fed's been part of that. They have all these economists in the Fed. They're not really solving problems. They're just trying to push the agenda of the people who control the country, right?
Yeah.
So, now it's a new group. Now Trump is wanting to make this more inclusive. I mean, I've said a lot about the Fed in the past and how it was not really working for the common guy on the street, and in fact it was creating this K-shaped economy. Tillis is an obvious rhino. He's an obvious globalist. He hates everything Trump's going to do, and these guys make it all as well. They make it all about ego, and because Tillis was so ineffective in his job, he's trying to just be as belligerent as possible and take everybody out. And this is like, he's gone. He is a lame duck. He has no business doing this. But they do not, as I've said before, the linchpin in this economy is really the Fed and their outlook. And Warsh is like, he's not going to run inflation, but he's also not going to look at growth as a bad thing. And this is like one of these globalist like hashtag, or slash, kind of Bolshevik ideas that growth is bad. It's not. It's great, and it helps the common guy get out of the trap that he's in and make money and not have to borrow money all the time. And so, I applaud that. I think Warsh is going to be fantastic, but these guys, they don't want to let Trump have that victory because, and you look at the whole like the SAVE Act, like what Thun's doing. I mean, this is an 80-20 issue. How can
Yeah.
these guys be opposed to this? It's an easy win for everybody. You're going to make 80% of the country happy,
Because
right?
they're working for somebody else. I think
Correct.
that's clear.
Correct.
Clear.
They want to leave the system that's not working for people in place. That's what they
Yes.
want to do.
Well said. What else do you see in the markets right now? Anything?
Well, we had like a big metals correction last week. You know, it got very speculative. People were saying that it was Walsh coming in. I don't think it's as much Walsh as it is that the exchanges started really hiking their margin requirements, and that caused a sell-off. And you saw like the physical trading in China basically the same price with like a $50 premium to where the paper was trading here. So I don't know if that was to try and get in control of everything, or just to protect the exchanges. I'm not sure, but that had that effect. I think you know, tech has done obviously really well. We had AMD out last night. The guidance wasn't as good, but the real reason is this stuff's just been on fire. You know, I think there's rumors going around now that China, it was the Intel CEO was saying that China is ahead of us in the AI thing now in the models. I don't know if that's true or whatever, but I do know that, you know, just from what I'm hearing with people in the industry, this story is beginning now. Like the demand for chips, the demand for AI, the productivity that it's going to enhance in this country is absolutely astounding. So, you know, I know software is a concern, and that's one of the themes that's in the market right now, because, you know, you can use AI to do a lot of the things that software was doing for a lot cheaper. I mean, it's just absolutely crazy. I mean, I can do pretty much everything with Excel and Claude now as I could do on Bloomberg. So I'm going to get rid of Bloomberg. It's a joke. Yeah. It's so expensive.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Well, you miss all that cool background talk.
Yeah, all the talk they want me to listen to so that I make trading mistakes.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, Tom. Anything else you want to get out?
Nope, that's it.
All right, man. We'll see you next time. Take care.
All right, take care.
Ciao.